everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. For this week's show, we are chatting about how to be an ally for social justice. Please remember to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to all of your comments and questions. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, grant StreamYard access so we can see your name when you have a comment or a question. Let's give a big shout out to our top sponsors, Ruth, Kirsten, Michelle, Ray, and Heidi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. And if you would consider supporting me, you can go to sherrypallas.com. There you will find literally dozens of ways. Thank you in advance. And thank you for welcoming us into your home and joining the conversation. I appreciate you all. Okay, let's meet our guests and get smarter. Nathaniel Pons, Alistair, I should have practiced with her before. DMin Summers is a drag queen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and an activist for the 2S LGBTQIA. They were raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, in a strict religious home. Nathaniel's self-hatred, harm, suicidal thoughts, and attempts started once his family and religious mentors discovered he was queer. They forced him into conversion therapy. After conversion therapy trauma, he left his family and their religion. With soul searching and studies, Nathaniel discovered that the Creator made him and he must live in truth. After 7 dark years, on August 28th, 2018, Nathaniel accepted their true, authentic self. Now a Jewish mystic, they believe their greatest religion is love, just like me. Hello, Alistair. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for coming back to see us.
Yes, it's good to be back for sure.
Next, we have Reverend Dr. Amantha L Barbee. She has served as a senior pastor for 3 PCUSA congregations. She holds a BA from University of Northern Carolina, Charlotte, a MDiv from Union Presbyterian Seminary, and a DM from Columbia Theological Seminary. She was the recipient of the E.T. George Award for Excellence in Homiletics and Worship and the 2018 PCUSA Woman of Faith. She has served on the Executive Board of Trustees for the Montreat Conference Center and President's Advisory Board for Union Presbyterian Seminary. She is a co-chair of a strategy team for NEXTChurch, chair of Charlotte Coalition for Justice, and the General Assembly Committee for Ecumenical and Interreligious Relations, as well as a delegate to the WCC for the PCUSA. Barbee has extensive training in anti-racism and anti-bias models for people of faith and corporate America and is a professionally trained coach. Barbee is a facilitator, educator for Johnson C. Smith Seminary and University. She has led peaceful and challenging protests, and her work has been recognized nationally. My mouth is not working. We could have just said one badass boss bitch, and that would have summed it up. Hello, Amantha.
Yep.
Hello, Sherry. I'm going to simplify that just for you.
Thank you. Running out of breath, all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Good to see you. Good to see you, Alistair, as well.
Thank you.
Good to see you, hon.
For coming back and being on the show. So I wanted to do this show because of some personal experiences recently. Over the last couple months, I have posted things or commented on social media that has generated some backlash. Go figure, right? But this specific backlash really shook me. I had posted something in regards to oh my God, how can my mind go blank right now? The box. Where the
Ark of the Covenant.
Thank you. Mind is completely blank. The box. I called it the box, which not a good way to start the show on how to talk better about being an ally. But I was called an anti-Semite for calling it a box and saying that it put God in the box. Never once when I posted it did I even think of Judaism. I was thinking of Christianity and Islam and Judaism all honoring this box. The second one was from Trump's black pastor. And I was called a Karen and a racist and these types of things. I was stuck because I didn't know what to say. If I would have said I have black friends, I have gay friends, I have Jewish friends, I would have sounded like every other racist or been dismissive or something to that effect. So I literally just sat there with my mouth dropped going, I don't know what to say to this. I'm definitely not this person that they're describing me as. But how can we further the cause and be true allies without coming across as anti-Semitic or racist or a Karen or something, or being judged based on my looks when I can't judge them on theirs? Alistair, you start.
Well, I would definitely say education.
Okay.
Because just like with me, I was raised in the South. So in order to be an ally to my African-American friends and be with them through all that they've gone through and all that they're going through, I had to take a step back and be like, okay, I was taught a lot of things being a Southerner that this wasn't right and this wasn't true. And it really broke my heart because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to deconstruct. I have to relearn and everything because I want to be the best ally I can be to my African-American friends or indigenous friends or individuals that are of color. Just because, definitely can see the white supremacy in our nation. Or actually world. It's not just the United States. It's Europe too. It's Canada too. It's other places as well. And, so it's just really education, like for you to say that, about the boxing, I wouldn't have saw it that way. Cause if that person would have read a lot of the Midrashes and the Talmuds and all of the things of our rabbis, saying, different thoughts of wisdom, that honestly would have sounded Jewish, because a lot of rabbis, they teach in a very unique way, as in with analogies or things of that nature, just to get you to think. So what you did was to get people to think. Yes, the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant is sacred to the Jewish people, but it isn't. It is a box that has gold plates and made of acacia wood and all of that kind of thing. And so, yes, it is holy to us, and it represents many different things. But the fact is that you were just trying to make an analogy of saying, you can't just put, the Godhead in a box and just call it, this is how we teach this or teach that. Because evangelical Christianity, if anyone puts God in a box, is them. Because of all of the things they try and say, like the word homosexual wasn't, around the time the Bible was written. So how can it be in the Bible, for one? And just all these different things that it's like, okay, y'all are the ones that put God in a box. And for y'all to have 50,000 denominations when Judaism has about 10 branches of Judaism, I think that, y'all really put God, a lot of evangelical Christians put God in a box, because they want to try and make it that cookie cutter. This is the only way you can receive God, be with God, love God, live for God. And it's like, no. I had a good shaman friend back here in Oklahoma, and she taught me that, there's a spiritual mountain and everyone is on a different path on the mountain. And I can't say your path is wrong and you can't say my path is wrong. And we have to treat each other with love and respect. Because if not, then, because Judaism brings me peace. I love it. We're actually in one of our high holy days, Sukkot. And so with that being said, it teaches us, while we live in a sukkah for these several days, that life is fragile, and there could be a day we may be refugees again and have to flee United States of America, or we have to flee from Oklahoma, or have to flee from Tulsa. So it just keeps in mind that, hey, life has fragile moments, but what matters are the ones we love around us. And, it doesn't matter how big your house is and how many cars you drive and how much belongings you have. What's important is what's under the roof, the semi-roof of the sukkah, because when you build a sukkah, you don't really put a full roof on it. You put tree branches and tree limbs on it, and that's what you put on for the roof, the ceiling. So that way you can look at the stars and remember this, that the promise to Abraham, that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars, and just see the Creator's works. So it's just for me to hear someone that is very pro-Trump and GOP and pro this and pro that, to try and call that you anti-Semitic is really like, what? Like, one, you're not Jewish, so you don't have a right to call this person anti-Semitic. I consider anti-Semitism what we're dealing with right now in Oklahoma. The anti-Semitism is so strong and so bold here right now. They actually made a National Day of Hate, these neo-Nazis, about a few months ago. It was when we had one of our first big protests against the bills to the LGBT community. And not like a few weeks later, they made their big National Day of Hate to be against Jewish people and the gay community, the queer community. So it's like we are dealing with a lot of that here. We had to have armed security with a lot of our high holy days recently. We had to have, protection, valets to our vehicles and stuff like that, because it was just a lot of our synagogues or rabbis or Jewish people in general receive a lot of threats. Just me last year, I received a threat from a neo-Nazi as soon as I made a public announcement on my my Facebook page. I'm getting back in practice because I'm healed a lot more from the trauma I've been through. So I'm getting back in practice being with my Jewish practice, and so I started with Hanukkah. Is one of my fire was ignited was with Hanukkah. And as soon as I made that post, oh my gosh, I had gotten a message from a neo-Nazi and sending me swastikas and we're going to carve this on your dead body and just all this evil and hateful rhetoric. Yeah. And I'm like, I just made the post and I wake up to that. It was the next morning I saw that. I'm like, holy wow. Like they are literally trolling Facebook. And the post was public so that, anyone could have seen it, not just my friends. So there's people that literally take the time out of their day to troll just to see anything Jews post or whatever, or, the queer community post or whomever, just to be hateful and just to spew hateful rhetoric. And it's just like, it just blows my mind that one, someone has that time of the day, because I have a very busy life, with my synagogue and being a full-time drag queen and my day-to-day jobs. It's like, being a boyfriend and, all this kind of stuff and having a family. It's like my life's too busy to be trolling someone and just making hateful rhetoric,
Yeah. So, the irony was that everybody who came after me as far as being anti-Semite were Christians.
There
were a couple Jews that signed on to it and said, "Oh, I agree. She's horrible," and all of these things. But as a representation of LGBTQ as well as Judaism on the panel, what would you want me to do to support you? What can I say? What can I do to help ease your world just a little bit?
One,
think about that. Let me go to Amantha.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that Alistair started with he's from the South. I grew up in North Carolina. I
Yeah.
get it, my brother.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, there are people who search for opportunities to spew hatred.
Mm.
I have
Mhm.
been standing in the pulpit of my congregation that I used to serve, and I had somebody with the rebel flag running back and forth past my church because I had spoken at the temple Friday night.
Wow.
So it is that coming together that we must do. And I do it again this Friday if asked, because I'm not going to shy away from what I know is right to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I grew up in the South, but I am so grateful that I grew up with a Baptist pastor. When I asked him, why did the Jews kill Jesus? And he looked at me like I had three heads, and he said, why don't you go to the temple and come back and talk to me?
Oh, I like that.
He wouldn't let me sit there in that
That gave me goosebumps.
embedded bad theology.
Yeah.
He's like, you go talk to the rabbi at the temple and come back and ask me that question.
Mm.
And that's been my Baptist experience, one for the Baptist. So
just to clarify, the Jews did not kill Jesus. Power did.
Yeah,
End of
absolutely.
story.
Absolutely. And it's the understanding in relationship. Now, whoever called you a Karen, I would assume that there's no relationship.
No. I mean, and he came on my thread, and this was Trump's pastor, a man of color, and he instantly attacked my appearance. He instantly attacked me being a woman, and just kept with the Karen. And again, I didn't know what to say, because if I finally shut him up, knowing his past, knowing my past, the only way that I got him to shut up, well, and then he came after me once more, but was to say, okay, you know what? Let's put our records of allyship against each other. What have you done for Black people? And I will tell you what I've done. The response was him laughing hysterically, calling me a Karen again, and saying that because he was Black and I was white, that automatically dismissed that argument, and he by nature would have done more for Black people than I would have done for Black people.
Well, Sherry, this is one thing I would say to you. When you are talking to a Black man who is a man of the cloth, supposedly supporting the right of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Pick your battles.
Okay.
Pick your battles. You can't argue every argument. You can't fight every fight. You have to pick your battles.
And, but okay, let me be forthcoming, because I lay it all out there.
Okay.
Had he not been Trump's pastor, I wouldn't have given him the time of day.
Okay.
But he came at me hard, and I was like, who is this guy? And as soon as I saw who he was, I was like, oh, it's on. Let's go.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to refrain. But I'm going to tell you this. This is the thing. If he comes back, go after him again. It is very interesting to me. In the case in Georgia, there are 19 defendants.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
One in jail with the cheapest bond. I think
is he still in jail, or did he get out?
I think he eventually got out, but for a very long time, one person was in jail.
Yeah.
And I think if you pay 10% of his bond, it may have been somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500.
Yeah.
And Trump didn't care enough about him and his cause. He was the leader of Blacks for Trump to get this man out of jail.
It was at least a week he sat there.
Oh, it was more than a week. And he needed $1,500, which supposedly Trump has in his wallet until New York gets through with him. But $1,500 to get this man out of jail, and he sat there, the only one of 19.
Yeah.
So,
and still
I am challenged with that reality.
Yeah.
That's why I personally would not have that argument. I do ask questions, but anybody who's going to call you, Karen, because I know you personally, they don't know you, first of all.
Well, and when I reached out for I know I keep jumping, but when I reached out to my Jewish friends after the whole anti-Semite, I mean, people started sharing my post and just completely slandering me, which I couldn't even say, look, I've reached out to my Jewish friends, because again, I would have sounded like every other racist. But when I reached out to them, I mean, the first person who commented has been on the show a couple of times. I respect them more than anything. And when they commented and said, whoa, this sounds anti-Semitic, that's when I went, oh my God, no, that's not what I meant. And they instantly came back with, I know better than that. But all these people who have been following me, I have a kind of substantial following at this point. A lot of them, I think, were just looking for that one thing to get me. But again, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I should defend myself. But everybody that I went to said, we know better. We are the Jewish people in your life, and we know better. Alistair, you were saying the same thing backstage before the show.
Yeah.
So did you come up with ways I can help?
Well, like I was saying earlier, is education. Because like understanding like with my community, the 2S LGBTQI+ community, is, I would say, educating yourself with what they call the clobber passages, because the evangelicals love to bring out those clobber passages. And understanding that those verses were once altered and changed, and they were meaning something entirely different than what they're being made meant today.
Often
like the verse in Leviticus. And like with the verse in Leviticus that they love to bring forth, the Leviticus one is just one. I was talking about temple prostitution, because back in Egypt, that's what was around. Things of that nature. And two, that was meaning young acolytes, young individuals that are coming up into the priesthood and learning from the older priests. Don't take them in and then start doing things, centrally and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Basically pedophilia. Don't do shit like that.
Exactly.
Okay. Because if it was against same-sex relationships, quote unquote, it would have said for males and males and females and females. Nowhere does it say anything about females and females,
No.
It's like it only talks about the males and males,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
spilling the seed, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah. And then the verse of Sodom and Gomorrah is another one that's a clobber passage. Well, one, if you read the book of Ezekiel, the prophet names the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah, and not one of it is same-sex love in our relationships. It's talking about taking advantage of someone sexually, talking about being unhospitable, and being hateful, being greedy.
Exactly. Sodom and Gomorrah was a major thoroughfare that most people had to walk through. And when the travelers would walk through, they would be robbed and raped and beaten. And
that's right.
All of that. That is what people at the border are experiencing right now.
Yes.
Exactly.
And the Republicans are saying more. That was a sin of Sodom.
Now,
even the word sodomy is a misnomer that was brought into the church to try and justify this hate that, again, is not very old, because pederasty was the issue. Males and males with children, not same-sex love.
Exactly. Because then you see,
I know how to
then you see King. Well, one too is that if I'm not Christian, but I have read a lot of texts, and if they want to point fingers at people, because they love to say, "Oh well, y'all are Sodom and Gomorrah, and in the days y'all would get punished," and da 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 da. It's like, well, actually, reading of what Sodom and Gomorrah was and is, y'all are, because y'all are doing the exact same thing, with those that are, same sex, those that are trans, those that are Jewish or African American or indigenous, or all these individuals that are different types of refugees into our country. They're treating them just like Sodom and Gomorrah was doing with those two messengers. So it's like, with that being said, y'all are the ones that in their book says that where Sodom and Gomorrah will come to them and says, y'all had more knowledge than we did, more wisdom than we did, more history than we did, and yet y'all were worse than us.
Yeah.
I mean, it says that in, I believe, the book of Revelations, where it says that Sodom and Gomorrah will look at the generation doing those things that they were doing, only worse, which I can definitely say that for the evangelical church. Then they will be judged by, in fact, it even says that Sodom and Gomorrah will judge them. So it's like, oh, wow, Sodom and Gomorrah is going to judge you,
Yeah. Hitler's more aligned with Sodom and Gomorrah than
so it's just like, with that being said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with that being said, it's like, with all that we're going through right now, just let people be people. Let people live their lives in peace. If they're not harming minors, if they're not harming other people, if they're not harming anyone, just let them live and be themselves. Quit attacking, individuals that are happy and that are like, I'm happy with being a practicing Jew. I'm happy with being a drag queen and being with my amazing boyfriend. I'm happy with all these different things. But see, it is they don't love themselves, because it says love yourself first before you can love others in the Bible. And Mama RuPaul says that too. So it's like they don't love themselves enough to love others. So they have a lot of self-hatred. So my main thing is that I would say, get back on track here.
I don't know, Sherry, if it's a fix, because it's an individual desire to really have peace in the land. I can choose
exactly
to hate you.
Yeah.
Look, I can choose to hate Alistair for who he is. I can choose that. Or I can choose, which I do, to look at you, feel your heart, and love you as a created one of God. And last time I checked, God was the only creator we had.
Yeah.
And this is the one I want to explore. I don't care what faith you practice. We're all made in God's image.
Exactly.
So God is not in a box. We talked about that earlier. There's nothing about God that is in a box. But you're right. We do put God in a box because that makes it convenient for us to practice the faith that we do, no matter what faith it is. And we can also take our Torah, we can take our Bible, we can take our whatever our religious texts are and manipulate them to be okay with what
we were talking about the curse of Ham before the show.
Yes.
About how that is used. In fact, that was another argument I got into recently. I'm spending a lot of time on social media, evidently. I brought up the curse of Ham because someone had said, there's no racism in the Bible. Absolutely not. That's crap. And I'm like, whoa, curse of Ham, go back. And his response was, oh, no one believes that theology. It just cracked me up. Again, another person who believes the Leviticus verse about homosexuality, but the curse of Ham is just like, to justify.
Well, see, a lot of them like to.
God, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of them like to cherry pick.
Yeah.
Yes,
they like to cherry pick and make a big old cherry pie and force you to eat it. Because it's just like I was saying earlier, is education. None of them wish to educate, so we have to educate. And if honestly, as Reverend Barbie was saying, I love saying Barbie. I just love it. As she was saying, we have to choose our battles. And that's one thing we have to all learn.
Okay, so is the, I know Jesus said to kick the sand off your sandals. Is the stopping point and they don't want to learn? It's just a win situation. It's just an argument. They're just trolling. Like we talked about earlier, people just want to be assholes sometimes.
Yeah.
So if they reject,
yeah, because honestly, if they truly wanted to,
is that
I feel if they truly wanted to educate and to learn and to actually grow and change and, all the things that they need to do, unlearn a lot of things like I had to, being grown up in the South and all of those things, and being in the closet. I had to unlearn a lot of things. So if they're not willing to, and they're just picking a fight, you're just wasting breath and energy, Okay. If they're coming to you sincerely, I would say then, yeah, they're wanting to change or wanting to really educate themselves. But if they're coming to you in a malice way and an evil way and just trying to pick a fight just to pick a fight and then use that against you, I would say just leave it alone and leave it as be, because I feel being a great ally is choosing your battles and knowing the battles that matter. The battles are at the ballot box. The battles are getting up in there, and many of us going into political offices. I know you may not like politics, but you might have to be part of a city council. You might have to be a part of a school board. So you can be that reason of voice, because those moms of liberty, or as I like to call hoes of Hitler, they are out there to destroy education in the red states big time. They're even holding up, and you even, I think I shared this, or I shared this, I forgot who shared this. They're holding up posters of saying how wrong it is how seahorses mate. And did you see that?
Pick your
Did
battle.
You see that?
Talk about picking your battle.
Yeah, that's ignorant.
Yeah. Because it's like, that's how the creator made the seahorses to mate. The male seahorse carries the eggs and gives birth to those eggs. That's why, that's why, if you didn't know this, that's why trans men are called seahorse daddies. Because and it's so cute. I love that term. I know many seahorse daddies. Because they.
So once they find out that Nemo is trans,
oh my God,
gender bending in any way, it's like your beloved Nemo.
Look, I'm still suffering because George Michaels was gay. He was on my ceiling.
That would hurt. Yeah, I scroll through my timeline and I see all of these beautiful gay men, and I get so upset. It's like, that's just not fair.
Okay. Well, you should also look up trans men who, oh my goodness, it's like I love their trans men and women's logos, self-made. I love those shirts and hats and everything, because seeing them transition to be their full true selves and how they've always felt and how always how they've been, it's mind blowing. It's magical. It truly is. It's a magic.
How tall Butch is, but I would date him in a second. That man is hot as fuck. Butch, his name is Butch. He's covered in tattoos. You can see the mastectomy scars because he honors those.
Okay.
But damn, he is, and I actually have used him many times on social media to say, if this man walked into a girl's restroom, I would have him arrested. But based on the Republican bills, he had to use the girl's restroom because he was born a woman. This man looks nothing like a woman in any way, shape, or form.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
His name, Buck is his name, I think. I think Buck is his name. And the picture that I use, his pants are down and he's got that. I won't go any further.
Yeah, we don't need to be banned on Facebook.
He's probably short, so it doesn't matter anyway.
This is the reality of it, Shirley.
I know.
Calm yourself down. Breathe, honey. Breathe. The fact that you're coming in your true self saying, okay, I'm struggling with this. That's something you can do. You're being honest about your struggle as a white woman coming forth to bring forth justice for all. You're going to get some pushback for putting the two of us together.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And the reality of it is, I could get pushback from being on a panel with Alistair. He could get pushback from being on a panel with me.
Yeah.
Now, neither one of us cares about what we're representing.
Exactly.
That's not, we could care less, but there are people that do. And what you can do as an ally is to keep pushing the envelope. I agree with Alistair. You can't fight with some people. My dad always said before he died, he said, you can't fight stupidity. And people who choose to cherry pick and judge, but holding their Bibles in their hands where it says, judge not.
Exactly.
It's a conflict within self. And until you truly digest those texts that you ascribe to and subscribe to, you won't be changed. And there is nothing that we as human beings can do to make that different. And I get pushback because I look at the Bible a little bit differently than everybody else. I'm like, read a little bit deeper. Let's not be so surface about that. Let's see what was really going on there. And the bomb scriptures that Alistair talked about, and you talked about a slave Bible. It wasn't a slave Bible. It was King James that many churches still use to this day. And you stand at the edge of the field. You stand at the edge of the field and read out aloud to have the enslaved Africans believe in a faith that they did not bring with them. They had a strong faith when they came, but I can assure you it was not Christianity.
No.
But they were forced to subscribe to this faith that they knew nothing about, but it kept them alive and or safe to agree with the owner. And if that is something that you as an African American want to subscribe to, God bless you.
I think that's ignorance. I mean, when especially people of color, I mean, Africa, I can, generally speaking, is patriarchal as fuck. I cannot believe how much patriarchal bullshit comes out of my friends in Africa. But if you want a dominion of God, if you want someone to oppress you, if you think that is the way that God is, how can you be any different to your neighbor? If you think God is a judgmental dick who's in a clique and says, you better love me if, then you're going to be that type of person too. So I don't even know if it's an education, but maybe forgive the term, Alistair, a come to Jesus moment. Where can we say that,
Jesus is not the problem, it's the people that worship him.
Right? I mean, this is what we need to say. What would Jesus do? Not that. Okay, I have another one. And this may be the wrong panel to even ask this, but this is another thing that's been just driving me crazy. I went to the doctor last week and for my back, and he asked me what my preferred sitting position was. And I immediately just said Indian style, and then just cringed, just absolutely cringed. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's so racist. That's so racist. So tomorrow will be a week, and I still have yet to come up with something to say other than Indian style. There are so many. What's that? Cross-legged. I'm sitting cross-legged now.
That or what my
so there's so many. My point is that there are so many things in our vernacular that are inherently racist.
Yeah.
And we don't even know it. I mean, I am an active anti-racist, which is why I got just cringed when I said it. And I also don't have
You can
other
say crisscross
words for it.
applesauce.
There you go. Crisscross apples. My doctor.
That's what my boyfriend's daughters say. They say crisscross applesauce.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But I mean, coming up with these types of things is how we become anti-racist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that all of my life this has been called this, but it's really wrong.
Right.
How do we overcome that?
And that's why they don't like the woke. That's why these evangelical GOP people don't like the woke theology, because it literally came out to be against slavery, to be against injustice, to be against all these different things, that was to be against individuals like those that are on this panel, and, be against women, be against African Americans, be against Jews, and they don't like the fact that there are teachers out there teaching what they claim is woke, which is not. It's just teaching truth.
Right.
And it's just like bizarre. Like there was a teacher here in Oklahoma that's been getting a lot of trouble because she has pride flags on her classroom and in the month of June. And so it's like, now there's also a principal. There's a principal here in Oklahoma that's under fire because on the weekends he's a drag queen, but he's a great principal. He's great with kids, but they're attacking him and trying to get him fired. Ryan Walters or whatever his name is, and all these other individuals are trying to do their best to destroy the progress we have all made, because I guarantee you when I was in school,
how do we fix it?
I feel like I was saying, not only education, but we have to, I feel, get political. And I know some of us don't want to. We get cringy when we hear that term. But many of us need to get political and get in offices, whether it's small offices or big offices. I feel that's what's going to help change is we not only have to educate ourselves, but educate others. But then also we need to go to the ballot box and vote properly with that education. And then we need to encourage young ones to register to vote and vote. Otherwise, those things can be taken from us. But most importantly, we need to get in smaller offices. Like if you can, try to get into the school board near your home. Try to get into the city council. Try to get in these places where you can serve at a smaller scale. You might not going to be a legislator or a senator or a governor. Who knows? You'd be probably a kick-ass one. But either of you, I would say y'all need to just, even myself, I've been thinking about it. Should I be in city council? Should I be in, this? Because I feel that's what's going to help change.
There's more than just a position of politics to be in politics. Like I strongly believe that no greater change can happen than that in politics. If you want to affect the most amount of people, focus on politics, because that's where the most amount of change or consistency is going to take place. I have absolutely no desire in any way, shape, or form to run for office, but I am very.
Guess what?
I am very political. I am contacting my representatives. I am marching. I am writing letters. I am teaming up with equity people.
That's right.
So I'm still active, even though there's no way in hell I would run for office in any way, shape, or form. So as long as you're being active, right?
Exactly. Being active like that. But honestly, individuals with the type of attitude you just mentioned, that you don't really wish to be in a political position, you just want to do all this stuff behind the scenes, those type of people need, I feel, to have that heart. You're here to serve. You're not here to get rich and get wealthy and all this stuff. They need to have that mindset and heart you just mentioned. Okay, I really don't want to do this, but this is a servitude. This is something for my people. Yeah. This is to help my community and stuff of that nature. And now, if you still don't want, that's by all means what you're doing, right? What you just mentioned, all those lists of things you mentioned, I feel is what helps. It helps. Protests help. Accountability helps. Getting in their faces help. Going to as many city council meetings as you can, or school board meetings as you can, or meetings at the Senate, house of your state. That way you can be a voice and be like, hey, no, this. I went to our state capitol in drag. I dressed as the goddess Iris, who is the goddess of rainbows in the Greek mythology, and I got in front of their faces.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think we need to be cognizant of is and I'm speaking really to our larger cities, because that is what America watches, the larger cities. And many of our cities have such poor pay for public officials that it keeps the rich conservative in office. And that's where we could be an ally and advocate for higher wages for these people in office, because some people cannot afford, like I will speak to the city of Charlotte, where I live. Our city is huge, and our city council folks are part-time and they work their butts off. And you cannot be a part-time city council person in Charlotte, and the pay that they receive cannot pay for them a place to live, but they still expect the same amount of work from them.
Of course.
So if people who may be on the margins, not available to run because they have a family to support, but they have good ideas. They're passionate about justice and matters of justice, but it's not set up for them to be in positions of power. And that is on purpose as well. Yeah. So if we're going to ask folk who are well-meaning and well-able to run for office, we need to support them in their efforts, even if it means if you win some type of, then they'll get in trouble, but they need higher wages to run for these offices so we can have a different representation.
The lower offices, yeah, because I mean, once you get in Congress, you're pretty much set for life. But we shouldn't be letting these people, I mean, California just yesterday approved a $20 minimum wage.
Wow.
And everybody is like, oh my God, that's so much money.
Not in LA.
Exactly. That technically works out to $42,000 a year, which you cannot live in LA on. You can't. There's not, I mean, I live in a rent-controlled building and I have yet to find something cheaper than what I'm in, and I can barely afford it here. So money on all levels, both for the good and the bad, the poor and the rich, must have some type of equity involved, because the people in power who don't want any equity, who just want their power, are getting richer. And the people who are fighting for the people who have the allyship, who have are the fights for equity, all of those things aren't funded at all. The poor are too busy working their asses off just trying to survive and eat. The rich don't want to work at all, and they want everybody else to go. So this perpetuates a divisive society. It perpetuates racism, anti-Semitism, everything that we're talking about right now, because we're so afraid, we're so on the edge and fighting for our own survival. We don't realize who's actually out there destroying it, right?
And you can look at if you're watching Congress, you can look at the faces of the old white men when a person of color from a different, immigrant has something to say. It's just like, I'm tuning you out.
So we just need to vote them out.
Exactly. But that is another issue. I mean, these are lifelong politicians, and it's hard. We dealt with Jesse Helms here in North Carolina forever, as he whistled Dixie on the elevator with Senator Mosley Braun on the elevator, and he thought it was just hilarious.
Oh, being an asshole is so funny these days to them. I mean, I can't believe how funny Trump yelling is. I mean, MAGA is all out there going, yeah. I mean, being an asshole is supposed to make you a pariah. and instead it's making you popular right now. And that I think is a complete soul searching that we have to do as a country. I think it's a soul search, like I said, the come to Jesus moment to say, you know, look, what is wrong with you? And I think one of the things, because we are getting close to the top of the hour, that I really want, we talked about it backstage before the show, and I told you, I can't talk about these things. But one of the things I'm proud of myself for, and that I hope that other people would do, is when someone came after me, as soon as they came after me and said, hey, you're doing this, I immediately checked myself. Why we're doing this show is because I wanted more information on this and how to be a better ally. But without introspection, without being able to reach out to people and say, look, did I really screw up here? Am I wrong? Can you guide me on this? That promotes growth. It also, I think, promotes unity. And even if I couldn't go back to the people who were slandering me, at least I knew that I was still on the right path. Or I wasn't. Yeah. I was fully prepared for someone to go, wow, Sherry, you just completely fucked up. And I would be like, okay, I know, I'm sorry. Instead of, wait a minute, I didn't do that. The response, the exception, the accountability, I think is something that all allies can stand in. It's not easy. My heart beats fast. I go, oh my God, was I wrong? But that's needed. It's needed to grow. It's needed all over the place.
That's absolutely true, because when I was when I was going really big on a lot of posts about the drag bans and the drag bills, I even put on my Facebook, you know, Juliet was actually a drag queen, you know, naming all these different things. And little did I know how insensitive that was to women, because the very reason why there were drag queens in Shakespeare is because women couldn't act. Women couldn't be actresses. And so I had to take a step back and like, oh, wow. Okay, that really triggered a lot, because I had really close friends of mine. One of my mentors actually came to me and she's like, that really struck a nerve. And I'm like, what? And then, you know, and she told me, and I'm like, I never thought of that. I never thought. So when we're fighting for our actual rights, we need to make sure we're not also bringing oppression or anything else on others. You know, so I had to take a step back and say, okay, you know, and so I reworded my post. I'm like, okay, even though, you know, drag in Greece and also in Shakespeare was really an oppression towards women, but it was also a blessing towards the LGBT, the queer community, because a lot of my community hid in the theater, you know, hid in the arts, so they could actually express themselves without being hung or burned or tortured. And so, and even though it was an oppression towards women, and it breaks my heart that that's what it was, it's like, you know, I had to reword things. So that's another thing too, is we just probably, I guess, need to take a step back. And so when we have moments like that, you know, we need to, like you said, go to those that keep us accountable. I have a group of friends that do that for myself. Well, we have to go to keep ourselves accountable.
I went to Amantha and said, I feel like a dumb fucking bitch. And she's like, okay, so now we have to have a conversation about self-talk. No, I want to talk about if I'm a Karen or not. Oh, we'll deal with the self-talk later.
Yeah, no, we're not going to hear that.
Yeah,
but this is the thing. This is talking
that's
about
the great therapist she is, though.
Yeah. You have to talk about intersectionality, and we do cross a lot. And on the margins, we cross a lot, but we have to be respectful of each person's struggle.
Yeah.
You have a struggle, Sherry, being the white woman with the blue eyes who can get away with all sorts of shit.
So you think?
Just because.
So
but
you think?
You got men telling you what to do. You know, Alistair has shared their issues in life, and I've got my issues in life, and there are some intersectionality happenings, and we have to honor one another. What we're not is straight white rich men, and we have to keep it in perspective and honor one another. But again, it's about being in relation and being in community. I can be having a conversation with somebody and I can instantly know they have not one Black friend.
Mm-hmm.
It is blaring like a headlight, bright headlight.
But they will say they do to defend that they're not racist. And that prevents me from saying it to defend that I'm not a racist.
All you can do is walk the walk, Sherry, and live the life
I can do that.
Of that ally and show people by example who you are. Because I can say I'm all of this and all of this and all of this, but if I don't have anything to show for it, or you can't put your hand on anything that I've done, I'm just a clanging. What's the Bible say?
And that's with anything. We have to.
Yeah.
So if
you have to own it, and like you said,
symbol and don't mean anything that's real, be that clanging symbol. And I think we've got a lot of people we're dealing with right now in this country that are clanging symbols.
Well, and because I want to make sure that I'm on the right path and I'm not screwing up and I'm not bringing, seriously, I come from such a screwed up background that I constantly catch myself with shit. But not being insecure about my status, owning that I am trying my best. I'm going after Christians because they don't walk the walk. They just say that they believe this and then they don't do this. So I kind of have to do the same thing, right? If I'm going to say, judge me, go ahead, judge me all you want. I expect accountability because that makes me a better person. But I'm also not going to cave into someone who's not doing it anyway, right? To own it.
Yeah.
I always say onus is on us.
I can spend a lot of time. I can spend a lot of time finding biblical proof to make you wrong. Or I can live into what Jesus told us to do, which love is the biggest, love is the greatest, love is the most important thing. I can do that because I can find something wrong with me in the Bible. I can find something wrong with Alistair in the Bible. I can find something wrong with you, Sherry, in the Bible easily if I choose to do that. And I'm usually 9.95 times out of 10 taking it out of context, and it's not really true.
Yeah. I love that.
Yep.
It's either
it's just for me
or a sword.
Yeah, and then just for like with everything else, it's you got to, like with me, I would always label in a lot of my comments, the Christians, and I had to stop saying that because guess what? It's not all the Christians. There's a lot of progressive churches. There's a lot of progressive Christians. There's a lot of Christians that are now awakening, saying, wow, those verses were mistranslated. The 7 Klobuchar passages that we use against the queer community were, so they're taking a step. Because I can tell you in the Tulsa Pride Parade, we actually have more churches than probably anything else now. And you want to know why? Because they have taken that step back to learn and educate and realize, oh my gosh, we were wrong about a lot of things. And then two, so that's why I label a lot of it like evangelical Christians or MAGA Christians or whatever have you, because there's a lot of Christians out there trying to stop the hate from the other side and trying to stand with others and being allies, standing with us Jewish people, standing with African Americans, standing with queer community. They're doing a lot of things that they are doing to help. And I feel with a lot of us that have went through religious trauma, like myself, I had a bad taste on my mouth towards just the word Christian in general. And I had to cleanse myself of that and really take a step back and say, okay, it's not all Christians. And I need to humble myself and release the forgiveness I need to release towards those that have harmed me, so I won't have that hate towards a group of people that aren't, there's a lot of them fighting for the right reasons. So it's like, as they say, hurting people hurt people, huh?
We can't be prejudiced. We can't go against prejudiceism if we are prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and like they say, hurting people hurt people. So a lot of what our communities need is to heal. And that's why it's my ultimate goal in the queer community here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or anywhere abroad, is to show I went through conversion therapy. I went through a lot of religious trauma. I went through 8 times of suicide and attempting suicide and, all these different things. And so I want to show them that they can heal and still be spiritual. They can be Christian, Jewish, Buddhist. Even if they really do feel that being atheist is their path, then to do it in a loving way, because there's a lot of atheists out there that come and attack anyone that's spiritual or anyone that's, whatever. And that's another thing too, is that we all have to walk in love. We all have to walk in the 4 beautiful words, LOVE, and many other languages is a longer word and deeper meaning. Like in Greek and Hebrew, that word has a lot of deep meaning. But it's still the fact that we all need to heal.
Yeah.
Because that's what I feel like the society in general is we're unpackaging a lot of trauma. And that's just what's happening. And the only way we can fix, I feel, a lot of the society is to heal and to also understand other people's struggles and say, wow, I need to unlearn this or I need to unlearn that so I can better serve the society and community that I live in.
Perfect. Amantha, did you have something to say? Okay. I don't put you on the spot.
I agree 100%. I think, my dog was barking, so I'm muted.
I know. Winston, be quiet.
I know. He's piped now. He had something to say about it. But it is about love, and we have to really check ourselves and share. That's what I'm hearing you say during this entire time and even before. Mm-hmm. That we've got to check ourselves. We all say stupid stuff. It's always being in the country. Yeah. And we can say, oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Yeah, but stop and think. Stop and think. Because once you've inflicted the pain, it doesn't go away easily, but it can go away. Mm-hmm. The only way it can go away is for us to be honest, to own when we do screw up and say stupid stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And rethink and reprogram, because we are programmed to be who we unfortunately see on TV right now. And that's not a pretty picture.
No.
I mean, you think about what's happening right now. We've got a past president of the United States of America with 91 federal counts against him. And that is the society in which we live. Yeah. And we've all been formed and shaped in that. And if you are outside of that privileged little box, life is painful, life is hurtful, life is scary, life is unsure. And though we walk boldly, we live in fear sometimes too. And you can't let it forefront, but it's real.
Yeah. Which is why I want to use my privilege, whatever I have, even if I don't see it, for people who don't have that. I mean, I was in the gas station the other day and I had a shirt on that said, I won't be quiet so you can be comfortable. And the girl goes, high five. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a bold ass bitch. And she's like, I love you. But it's all for good trauma, right? It's all for people who don't have a voice. It's for the marginalized. I will always go after power. I will never go after the poor or the marginalized. And I will continue to keep myself in check to make sure that I am the best ally I can be for you guys.
Yeah.
But I still know that I'm a dumb white woman alive.
Hey.
Okay. Well, we have gone well over the show, over the hour. Alistair, any final words, and where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. And yes, be yourself to free yourself. Did someone comment that?
No, that's your thing that you said you wanted to put up. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's true. I just it looked like someone commented it for a minute. I was like, one of my fans is on here. Okay. But you can find me also at the Hedge. That's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's on Sheridan Road. I have my show there once a month, every other month. It's called Out of Stairs, Guys and Dolls and Everyone in Between. And it's a very big variety show, because actually in our next show we're gonna have a live action band, so it's gonna be really awesome. So it's gonna be the Witches Ball, and that's on October 21st is the next show. But yeah, that's my show there every other month, once a month, and probably on television very soon too. Can't give details, but
okay.
Awesome.
Well, keep me posted. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Amantha, any final words, and where can people find you?
Make it easy for you. AmanthaBarbee.com. I want to fight with you. One thing I firmly believe is that if we don't all come to the table, there will never be a resolve. And I know it's tough sometimes to find conversation partners, and but we have to do that. We cannot work in silo. I can't be responsible for you, but I can walk alongside you and be willing to have tough discussions and honest discussions. So look me up, AmanthaBarbee.com, and I'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you so much. And real quickly, a push for your book.
Yes. For those of you who are afraid to preach justice, whether it's LGBTQIA, racism, differently able, whatever, folks on the margins, if you're having trouble how you can step into that space in your pulpit, get a hold of this 9-week lectionary for Common Time, Boldly Preaching Justice, that is available for you on Amazon. Pick that up, and I give you scriptures, sermon starters, music, the whole nine. All you got to do is be bold enough to preach it.
I love it. Thank you both so much. You guys have educated me and filled me up. Thank you so much. I'm going to kick you both backstage and close the show.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Oh, I cut them off. This tech is killing me these last couple of weeks. Another great show. I hope that you guys got a lot out of that. I know I did. I think that priorities are important, as well as security, knowing who you are, knowing who you stand for, and what place you have in this world. I love learning things like this. If you like the show, share it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you all so much. Next week's show will be with my dear friend, Mike Zinker, and it will be fantastic like always. I'm sure we'll have lots of laughs. Have a wonderful week, and don't forget, walk in love. Mwah! See you soon.